Today, we're standing in the World Congress Center, and all the people passing by, they're heading towards their evening meeting, I'm guessing. We're getting close to about 6:30, and that's when the music starts. The Georgia Dome was full of business today from, 9 o'clock on. You know, the day for a delegate actually starts at about 7:45. If you take in everything that they have planned for you, music begins at 7:45, worship at 8. They finish that at 9:04, if you can believe that, 9:04 a.m. We take a little break, and then the business session begins today. But the business day began with some work from the nominating committee, and it was kind of interesting. It meant for a lot of discussion among the delegates. I think they were hoping, what administration was hoping is that if the nominating committee didn't have to handle all of the offices that need to be filled, if they could push some of them to annual council, it would be a great help. So they asked the delegates this morning to take a vote to allow them to fill the associate directors for the departments at the General Conference, to go ahead and fill those during annual council and let the office at the GC take care of that. Actually, the delegates didn't like that idea. The opinions were quite strong, and it actually sounded like if I had to summarize what I heard, they would prefer that the larger nominating committee here handle it, and that they get a better and a broader representation. So they voted that down. That was a big deal, because most of our bylaws and constitution changes we were going to work on in some way were related to that vote we took, because they were rewriting the bylaws and the constitutions. That's a lot of information to tell you that we hijacked the meeting. They had to let us out early, actually, and they said, you know, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board for a couple of hours, so go get lunch. We took a lunch break. We returned at 2 o'clock, and things just flew all afternoon long. They gave us several statements, official statements that the General Conference Executive Committee voted. These are official position statements. You can find them on Adventist News Network, and they're quite interesting. 5 of them today. We didn't have to vote on them, actually. They just provided them to us because they were releasing them to the public this afternoon. Statement on children, the protection of children. There was a statement on creation, which they haven't written since 2004 an update on their creation statement. There wasn't new information. It was simply an affirmation about our position on creation. They issued a statement on freedom of speech and defamation of religion, which was quite interesting. I haven't read it all the way through. Another statement on poverty and the church's response to poverty in the world. I was actually very proud of that statement. Again, you can look at all of those on Adventist News Network. They moved from all of those statements also to a voted statement on the spirit of prophecy, a recommitment to Ellen White and the importance of her ministry to the future of the Adventist Church. Well, then we began the church manual. You've heard of the 95 Theses for Martin Luther and the Reformation. We have 95 changes to the church manual. 95, one at a time. We began today rather slowly because every statement they presented, and it might just be a little word here or there they would like to change, every statement they present, they open up for conversation to the delegates. That's 2,400 people who could have an opinion about 1 or 2 words. We got kind of bogged down, and they reminded us, let's try and keep these going. I think we might have only voted 10 or 12 of them today. Most of them were not overly significant. Tomorrow, when we pick up the church manual conversation, the one that's been talked about the most, the change to the deaconesses, that we may ordain deaconesses in a division where the executive committee allows deaconesses to be ordained. We're expecting that to be a really interesting conversation tomorrow morning on the floor. We voted in a lot of officers. The nominating committee came back with a large report today. There's more names than I can pronounce nor get accurate. 6 of our vice presidents were returned to office. 3 of them have retired. Finley, Karst, and Shu all retired, so 3 new vice presidents. And then the Secretariat office was also voted in. And it was interesting, there's quite a few names as associate secretaries. Again, check the Adventist News Network. I don't have time to list all of those names today, But that was quite interesting. At one point, a delegate said, it would be really nice if you would bring these people out here so we could see who they are before we vote for them. Well, that didn't work. We went ahead and voted and saw them afterwards. Tomorrow there will be more nominating committee work, especially as the caucuses get back together and the nominating committee for the division presidents begins. We expect that to be an interesting conversation. We'll report in the next day or two. Well, really, the highlight inside the Georgia Dome today was meeting the Surgeon General. The Surgeon General, Regina Benjamin, was with us, and actually she was appointed by President Obama. She has some things in common with Adventist Christians because she was a Kellogg Fellow as part of her training, her leadership training. So she knows about the Kellogg Company, she knows about Kellogg and Adventism, she knows about Adventism's commitment to holistic health care. This was even before she became the Surgeon General. So she had some fabulous things to say to Adventist Christians about their commitment to holistic care. And especially, I did not know the church had committed to the, is it the Step It Up or the Move It Up campaign with Michelle Obama, getting children fit in the United States. And she spoke a little bit about that, the Adventist Church partnering in that fitness plan. She spoke about her priorities to decrease tobacco use in teenagers, about obesity and childhood obesity in particular, and especially just being a more fit and healthy America. She did mention the Loma Linda Adventists and the Blue Zone and the commitment to health in Southern California in particular. That was fun to hear. They gave her a standing ovation, and that was all part of a health focus at the end of the day, where they asked the delegates and the church leaders to sign pledge cards, just like what happened in the 1900s, where people would they would sign and pledge themselves to a life of reform, temperance, basically. What was inspiring today, personally, I will tell you, it was fun watching one of the youngest delegates step up to the microphone and speak. There is a 27-year-old delegate from Canada. We hope we'll interview him later in the week. I don't know that he's the youngest, but he's certainly among the youngest. In reading all the church manual updates today, he was a little troubled that we have to use all this negative language, and so he stepped to the microphone with a smile on his face. He said, "Must we speak in double negatives all the time?" The chair of the meeting said to him, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Well, why can't we say what we want to say in a very positive way? Wouldn't that be good?" What he didn't know is he was speaking in the middle of an amendment to a motion, and his comment sort of got lost in all of the procedure. But it was a bright moment to see a young delegate stand up and speak about a positive church he'd like to represent in the future. That was fun to watch. Well, Sunday's over. We're glad it wasn't 103 today. We're hoping for cool weather again tomorrow. And we'll be back to you soon again with another Southeastern California Conference Viewpoint.